Okay, hello everyone. We hope that you're finding this session okay, and we're very excited today to welcome you to this session with Queen Quet, who is the chiefess and head of state for the Gullah Geechee Nation and the founder of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. She continues a multi-generational relationship with not only vegetables on her Sea Island family compound, but also with healing herbs and fruit trees via the ancestral knowledge passed down to her. Her topic today is going to be the Earth Dewey, excuse me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Gullah Geechee Nation, plants and healing culturally. So what we'll do is we'll have Queen Quet will speak for about a half an hour, then we'll have some opportunities for questions and answers at the end. So if you would like to ask a question, just use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen and post some questions. And Laura Pastarfi, another moderator, will be taking those questions and posing those to Queen Quet at the end. So thank you very much. And please go ahead, Queen Quet.
Stay in the field, oh, stay in the field. Stay in the field until the war is ended. Why stay in the field? Oh, stay in the field. Stay in the field until the war is ended. Down here, in this your line, some of the children are yet vote. This year, they call it Geechee Nation. Going from Jacksonville, North Kakalaki, all the way down Jacksonville, Florida, where you got these your places. We made a deal now. Oh, there are plenty of people. Now, Shum. It's Shum from this your water side. Then I Shum from the line where the Gullah Geechee stand. Then I Shum from where the tree and thing be. Oh, but this year, the all part of we. And so we yeti, but this your thing. But how hunter the guanyona, oh out in the wilderness. Sometimes they just make them children think about the seeking and things like that. What we ancestors been to do. When in the wilderness, they would have yeti this year. On that spiritual too. That's why I just crack my teeth with the sound. But you see, man. What bringing that sound? What also not only feed the soul, but feed this your body too. And the only way when I can do this is if you know say that time that we together here, pardon this your line, have to make sure not just the water to heal, but also this your Sea Island side. So your ancestors them say. But if Hona ain't know where Hona the day from, Hona ain't going to know where Hona the going. So you have to send Kofa, go back and fetch it. So this your day. I want to bring Hona to this your show with me. For start off, yeah, in the Gullah Geechee Nation. For honor we legacy. For honor we ancestors. Who will bring seed in even in the here during that time of the crime against humanity called chattel, slavery. So I can ask on a 4-week wide forward to enter the line, but take we hand and touch the sign. Let we pause and take a moment of silence for them what been a plant the seed, but we had a tree, but we had a plant, but we had a thing for nam pun, for nurture we. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe. Here in the Gullah Geechee Nation, we can never fully talk about our culture, our traditions, our community, without talking about the life around us, the life that exists in the waters, like where you see me seated here in the Sea Island of St. Helena in South Carolina, but also the land that truly we live on, we live from. Here in the Sea Islands, many people come here, as I mentioned, in Gullah, as I was speaking, and they see this landscape behind me. They see just the water. And as we say here in the Gullah Geechee Nation, the water to bring we, the water going to take we back. But today, I wanted to bring you to our shore, to take you on a journey about what we are all literally a part of. That's the earth itself. So whether it be the water, because your body consists of 70% water, or the earth, because they talk about how the Creator took earth, molded it, and then breathed, and it became a living soul. So if you think of yourself as a soul of the soil, how could you not have a relationship with what grows out of the soil? The very things that we call vegetation, that we call foliage, that we call plants. So before I even got going for the day, to have the opportunity to talk to all of you that have joined us from around the world, and I know some of Hana Gullah Geechee children, because you say you've been a Kanya. I know a lot of folks in the Gullah Geechee Nation said, I'm definitely going to be there with you, Queen. And I pray you're here. And I just want you to take a moment and think about where we all are seated right now. Many of us are connecting virtually, sitting indoors. But if you're near a window and you can look outside and you can see some green growing, I want you to pause a minute, take it in, and think about how you and it are one. Then I want you to, if you have a painting, an image, anything nearby you that also has a plant, a flower, a tree on it, or like in my case, I have the Gullah Geechee Nation's national flag that has a tree in the center of it. I want you to take that in. Think about what that just did for you. Puts you in a different place, different space, helps you center. So just the imagery of something that grows from the soil can grow in your soul. So it's a wonderful thing if you say, well, I'm in this urban place. I don't have a lot of trees around me. Look at the grass. Get a potted plant. Put it inside that space and have it help you take those toxins that you breathe out and transform them into beautiful growth. And as it gives you back nice oxygenated fresh air. Do we often stop to think about that? When we see even a plant with a brown leaf on it, do we stop and think, why is it brown instead of green or blue if it's indigo, like the ones that my ancestors came to be known for growing and harvesting? They were enslaved to grow cotton, rice, and indigo plants. One that you could eat, others that you could end up wearing. And now we wear them and think nothing about the coloration of what's within. But once again, many of our natural dyes come from plants. So all day long, you really can't avoid plant life. Even if you say, I'm stuck inside on a screen looking at work to do. That's why I say bring a plant, bring some nature inside with you. And periodically throughout the day, pause. Look at it. Breathe out the toxins. Breathe out the stress. Let the plant take it in for you and transform it, and begin to look at how that plant transforms you. And the next time you see a brown leaf, take your time and touch it. Remove it. prune it back, and you'll find that plant will flourish. You'll find it will begin to grow with more energy, more vibrance, to the point that it'll produce other little baby plants. Now, if you suddenly see half your plant browning when it's supposed to be green, then that means you haven't been taking time to look at it. You haven't been taking time to take in what it's been giving you, so it feels neglected. It starts to fade away. It starts to die off. And guess what happens? There's a thing called plant rot. It can then start to infect all the other plants that you might have in the house. And before long, you can keep watering and they're still dying because you didn't pay attention. So around the world, it's now time for us to pay attention to plants in all their forms. And so, like I do many mornings, I step outside and I breathe it in. I breathe out that which is cleansing, remove it from the spirit, from the soil of my soul. And I step out on the grass. I step past the trees. I go out into the field and I begin to harvest the veggies, my other plants that nurture me in a way that most of us is our only relationship with plants. When it's already out of the field, not when it's growing on the bush. And the unfortunate thing is the same way we don't like it if our house plants have that little brown on it and we don't stop to think, just help it along, take it off. We also love to look at the veggies in the store and we want them to look a certain color, a certain way, a certain size. We don't think about the way others use them and the farmers look at them and the hands that touch them and the energy that went into the soil that planted the seeds that caused them to grow, that caused them to be here, that caused them to be something we could eat later and nurture our bodies with. But if the right soul doesn't touch the sand, nothing grows. In fact, they die. And sometimes, because we don't pay attention, they stay there too long and they look like they might be all right, but you turn them around and they're dotted. The rottenness starts to show, and that's what we don't want to see. But is it not natural to the plant? Or is it just not natural to you and me? Because actually it's natural for the plant to go back into the earth after its season ends. But because we've all been taught this manufactured version of what food life is and what plant life ought to be like, because we have these folks that have these perfectly coiffed lawns, and we have lawn care specialists, and we have arborists, and we have all these specialists and these titles that go around the world for those who get paid a lot of money to make sure that you enter certain areas and the plants are all decorating as you drive in, and the plants are around you at these places you pay expensive tickets to enter. We then don't pay attention to the natural process that sometimes has a little rotten spot, might be a little bit dotted, might be a little bit not so pretty, but this is still a tomato. All I have to do is the same way we took off those little brown leaves off the plants in the house, is cut off all this, and I can still eat this part on a sandwich. I can still make a soup. To me, it's just as pretty to see as the bell pepper. But the bell is tolling now for us to take some time. Going back to a landmark, Sankofa. Go back and fetch it. Go back and get that knowledge that our ancestors who were agrarian had. Go back and get that knowledge that the herbalists have, that make you go out there and know the difference between what we're going to eat for dinner and what I'm going to actually make for something that's going to heal the body. That's going to be an herbal tincture. That's going to be something that instead I'm going to crush and make into a salve to put on a wound or to make something moisturizing with that wonderful natural smell of the flower that I can rub into my skin like lemongrass, that will make just the right energy connect with me, but make other little creatures fly away from me too, so that I have a chance to further enjoy that atmosphere of everything that grows naturally from the soil. So as a Gullah Geechee whose culture is indigenous to Sea Island soil, from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, where we are still agrarian people, we are still healers. We realize that it is the energy that we carry that allows us to have relationship. It allows you to either draw in or to repulse. It allows you to be one with other living beings or to cause the things to kind of die away. Those connections can die away too. If they die away, how can they nurture you? So we have to take some time sometimes to simply do nothing more than stop, breathe, and appreciate the land and what we could touch from the land with our hand. Sometimes you might have to stand under it and reach up to see and touch the tree. It's a part of you. It's a part of me. So when we talk about a new way of being with plants, for me, it's not a new way. It's just like when we talk about our healing herbs and people say, oh, that's new age. And we're like, well, this new age must have been lasting for hundreds of years because they ain't new for we. It might be new the day that it came to you, wherever you might be taking your journey. But this is ancient. This is what's been here since Earth came into being, was sand that we call land and vegetation that grew. Many of us have heard the story of the Garden of Eden. Could you imagine if you could stand in it in this moment and plants were all around you and all you had to do was steward it by paying more attention, by not neglecting the beauty around you? Well, we have that opportunity right now to take some time to appreciate the plants for all they give us, and then respect that if we continue to nurture the plant community, why nurture we? And so we'll be standing like that tree planted by the rivers of water. You'll not be moved. So as we talk about the climate changing, we talk about things like sea level rise that bring saltwater inundation onto areas that were agricultural lands, that bring water into areas that won't allow certain vegetation to be sustained. Guess what? I come to the shoreline And you know what I see still standing? The trees, the Spartina grass. Some of them are adapting, they're changing, they're morphing, they're bending, they're doing all the things that they need to do to show you that I was here from the beginning of the earth and I'm going to be here too. So it's almost as if the plants are saying to the humans, so what you going to do? So that's the question today that I ask you. While we still have vegetation in the world, will we each take some time to plant another plant? Take a seed sometime this month, sometime this year. Plant a seedling somewhere on a piece of land. Start with a pot. Let it grow. And while it's growing, pay attention. Pay attention to all that you see in it. Let it speak to your soul and let it show you how as it grows, you grow too. How as you breathe out the stresses of all that we try to sanitize, compartmentalize, decorate, and arrange, we can never out arrange God's beauty of the natural plant life and its sustainability. And as we sustain the plant life, it going to sustain all of we. Because as the water brought us is one thing, but the waterways are our bloodline. But I always let people know the earth, that we family. And so as we treat the earth as family, there's no way that we won't be holding those seedlings and rocking them as our babies that eventually grow up to mount up taller than us and that give back to us as we gave back to them, because they are us. We are them. The tree that we. So how we going to live with the tree and the plant on this your journey? I hope we're not going to do them like a we in the Gullah Geechee family, that the tree, the we, inextricably tied together and rooted in this your land. Oh yeah. And like them tree by the river of the water, all we quite stand, truly blessed to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and know that the plant life is teaching us lessons every day, without a doubt. So I'm so glad that Hona chillin' join we for yet just a little bit about this your new way of being with the plants. So if Hona in the door, go outdoors for now, do them this your day and do them again after that. And while you step out your door, breathe, see, and take a new journey. And I bet you'll find your soul healed because you've made the reconnection with the life that is you. You are plant life too. We were seated in God's minds. Let's plant some seeds in each other's souls. So now let's chat a little bit about what gonna come here for Yeti this year day. I would love to hear the questions you have and everything else you have to say. Thank you, Paul, for having me here. And as we would say down south, thank you to all y'all.
Thank you so much, Queen Quet. So wonderful to have your wisdom today. And thank you so much for sharing. So please, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. Excuse me, please put it in the Q&A so that we can ask. And I do have a question for you.
Sure, please, Laura. So good to be here with you. Yes.
I so appreciated how you started your talk with the Gullah Geechee language, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how the Gullah Geechee language is connected to plants.
Oh, yes. The our whole life is connected to plants. So when I started out, I was singing one of our spirituals that connects us to the fields. And we have a lot of different songs and things like that that kept cadence as we work out there with the plants. And so one of the things that in our community is an element of us. People always say that we're lyrical. Like even when they hear the Gullah Geechee language, it's lyrical. And if you watch the movement when we're talking, it will remind me more often than not of our trees swaying. So linguistically, it's not about the words so much as it is about the context. And everything is interconnected. So the body language matters, right? The space in which we are matters, and the terminology that you use connects to that cultural environment. And so, you know, being rooted, right? Having roots, you will hear this term a lot throughout the Gullah Geechee language, meaning different things. And most of it connecting to, are you grounded, or is this where you're from? You know, are you rooted in it? So there are those terms that connect us back to plants in a way that I never thought of until you asked this question. But it's all a part of our life and our lifestyle. And so naturally, our language reflects the plant in so many ways. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to share, there's a comment in the chat from Kathleen. Beautiful Queen, you fill up my heart and inspire me.
Wonderful. That's what we want. I love that. And you know, Kathleen, and I hope there's many others besides you that have inspired to say, you know, get out here, enjoy, even if it's just a one tree. It could look like Charlie Brown's tree. Okay. But treasure that tree. It could be that little doted tomato. Don't just say, oh, I'm so upset, you know, oh, mine didn't come out perfectly. No, there's still nurturing in it. And so definitely, I want us to be more inspired that we don't have to be perfect. A plant in its natural habitat is not normally what we've been taught is perfect. And so as much as I love floral decorations and all of that, I love the way God decorates and arranges. And so if I can inspire more of us to appreciate that natural arrangement of plants out here, I am happy. And I know that my living and work has not been in vain. Neither has Laura and Paul's and all the planners for this conference, that our work has not been in vain if we're inspiring folks to truly think about the way we live with plants. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is that inspirational piece. You're bringing that so much. So thank you. We have another question that's similar and on a similar vein. Is there a sense that when we prune plants, even when it's done in a spirit of care and love and wanting to promote growth, could it cause pain to the plant?
Well, you know, I'm happy you asked that. Many of you might have seen the movie with the blue people Avatar, because there are two Avatar movies, not the Avatar movie that humanized the cartoon, the one that had the blue people. I always said that they owe us money because that movie is about the Gullah Geechee. If you recall, there's a scene in the movie where one of the animals is hit with a bow and arrow. But before anything else is done, a prayer is done over the creature. Why? Out of respect for life. So even when I do go and I prune plants, I do a prayer and I respect that life that's there. And I say to the plant, you know, not trying to hurt you, trying to help you out here because you ain't looking so good. So I'm trying to take these off, and maybe that'll help the rest of the plant feel good and grow more. And even when I'm in my field, I walk through I said, oh, hey, mate, oh, looking good today. Hey, oh, are you coming in? You know, and I just spend time actually cheering on the plants. And I've had an abundant harvest this year, the more that I do that. So that's more work too, of course. So if y'all see me slimmer, it's because all the sweating out of the toxins work in the field. So definitely, I agree with you that there could be some element that we don't know about since we don't know the plant's language. It could be saying, ouch, while we pull off one of the things, or we're taking these little shears and cutting. So my thing is just honor its life, you know, honor its life. And then if you can, take all those cuttings and put them somewhere where they can compost so that it becomes a part of the earth again, so that life comes back again. That's what that whole Sankofa circle that I keep mentioning is about, that what is of the past comes back to life again into the future. It takes care of birth, life, death, afterlife, the whole cosmology of existence. So I still believe that God divinely ordered to everything there is a season, including those little pieces we take off the plant.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So we have a question from Tabitha. Thank you so much for your words and taking the time to speak today. Do you have any plants that you would say you have a deep personal connection with, whether food, medicine, or other reasons? Would you be willing to speak to any personal connections you have with specific plants?
I love that Tabitha asked me that, because I never thought about if there was, you know, it's almost like asking me, what's your favorite plant in a way, right? I never thought of any one particular one that I just have a special relationship until she asked me that. And I would say it would be with Spanish moss itself. But to say it's with Spanish moss alone would not pay respect to the oak trees that it grows with. There's a symbiotic relationship here in the Gullah Geechee Nation and throughout what is often referred to as the Low Country between Spanish moss and oak trees. And there are other moss that grow on many of our oak trees as well. And I would say I have a personal spiritual relationship with oak trees and Spanish moss, because anytime I see them, I'm drawn to them. And anytime I'm amidst them, I feel my ancestors' energy there. And I make connections. When I touch it, I feel even more energy of healing power there. So for me, being someone who is a native Gullah Geechee, I would think that my personal relationship really is with that Spanish moss, always wanting to know what was that long gray beard, and learning as I grew, as the trees grew, that that's a place of wisdom. So it's not just theirs. We would say dry long soil and things like that. And so it definitely does make a difference. And now you're going to make me ponder my relationships even more. But I also love being out amidst all the trees and vegetation and herbs and different things with my family members, because always opportunities for intergenerational learning. So that they tell us what berries not to eat because they're poison, and which berries are the ones that make good wine. And that's my last name. So of course I would have a good relationship with wines as well, and with berries that make it. And so definitely I love picking grapes. So I have a wonderful relationship with grapevines. I love going to pick grapes and then actually making wine from it. So yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And I love that there are so many plants that you spoke of. Thank you so much. So we have another question from Morgan. Morgan would love to hear more about dispossession and resistance. So you talked a bit about rootedness, and
Yes.
Morgan's wondering how Gullah Geechee people think about and resist acts of dispossession.
Thank you so much, Morgan. I didn't think we would get to that today in the new way of being with plants, but I'm so happy that you asked this, because as I mentioned, in the center of the Gullah Geechee Nation's national flag, and I'm going to try to see, you know how these screens are with Zoom? Sometimes you can't get them to fully show you the image, but let me see if y'all can get to see this. Let's see if I can get it to happen. Oh no, my tree doesn't want to show up here. But what I will do is I will make sure, there we go. Let's see. Is it coming up? If my tree will show up. Yeah, there we go. A little more, a little more. Y'all can see it. Yeah. All right. So you'll see that that is the tree that I've been speaking about that's in the center of the Gullah Geechee Nation national flag. All right. And so that tree is actually human bodies intertwined that represent the Igbo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yoruba, Gullah, Geechee, Mendi, Temni, Fik, Ibibio, the Yemisi, the Kosabo, the Adisto, that were the indigenous people that were here that are also part of our ancestry. So resistance is in our blood. It is in the roots that are part of our tree for the Gullah Geechee Nation. We have continued to practice our traditions so that people would not think that we are a community that doesn't know self-sufficiency. So when we hold on to our land and we are able to feed ourselves, it allows you not only to build physical strength, to have mental capacity, to be able to continue to endure an onslaught of people who come in and don't respect the land in the way that we do. Because instead, they think beauty is in concrete and asphalt and not in the natural growth that I've been talking about. So the way we've resisted is by remaining steadfast on the fact that Gullah Geechees have been on this coast for 500 years. We have traditional knowledge that has actually maintained this coast. And that's why it's so beautiful and attractive to others. Like I said earlier, a certain energy draws you in or it repels. And so by being naturally, and one might say organically, who we are, and honoring the fact that we be Gullah Geechee anointed people, indigenous to the land, who live in natural environments, and doing pushback every time someone says, well, that's not sufficient. Making sure that we position ourselves to be in the room, to speak out when someone says that a better use for a landmass is not to have a park or an open space or a community garden, but it should be another hotel. It should be another road. It should be another highway project. It should be another building of some kind, a gated area of some kind. We've pushed back against that. We've pushed back against turning agricultural land into golf courses. It hasn't been easy. People have threatened my life for doing it. You see, people are not all folks that love nature. But what we've also done is start to build capacity around getting people who are accustomed to urbanized environments to appreciate green environments. Because when you want to escape the city and you want to get out of the concrete jungle, what do a lot of people go do? Want to go to real jungles, go to safaris. They want to do what? Come to islands. And where do they want to go? They want to get on the same beach. They want to get on a shoreline. But we say, but guess what? That won't be there if you pave over everything. So now we bring in science. We bring in various aspects of it, engineering. And then the biggest thing is bringing in just the experience. And we continue to be vocal. We never think that a day can go by without speaking up about our rights, our right to self-determination, and our right to live in a natural open space environment that is in balance with the other things that are living beings of the earth. So we continue to push back on those who tell us that no, what we've designed, is the world you must live in. So we all have to go toward a new way of being, listening to one another that have lived in places and spaces for 500 years. There's knowledge there. You don't have to have a degree to prove you have knowledge. You have to think about the degrees of your understanding. So now, how are we going to sit together and then talk about the future for us all and for our future generations? So that's the thing. We've continued to be vocal, steadfast, immovable, that tree planted by the rivers of the water that shall not be moved. And we have then garnered the support of folks like even here. For me to have an invitation like this, for this type of conference, means a great deal to me, because it says my community matters to folks that are all the way in Minnesota, okay? That they're not on Sea Islands, but the Sea Islands matter to them. And the more that you build that global capacity of other people of like mind, believe me, you become like blades of grass that don't have any lawnmower in sight. They multiply very quickly. And the next thing you know, they can choke out anything you don't want growing there. And so that's part of how we have done our resistance. That's part of how we continue to do our resistance. And we have an international organization, the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. I hope you'll join us and be a part of that. Continued resistance and living our traditions is how we hold on to the land and the culture, and we have a continuation of our existence into the future. So I'm so happy you asked about it. And if you want to be part of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, it's open to anybody. You can join, go to gullahgeechee.net or go to gullahgeecheeland.com. Go to gullahgeecheeland.com. And many of you who are interested in a lot of things that we do here about the natural environment and things like that can sign up at gullahgeecheeland.com to be on our database to learn about some of the walks, natural walks, and environmental projects that we're working on here to keep not only our lives going, but the plant life too.
Thank you so much. And we are so honored to have you speaking at the conference. And we're getting several questions around how people can support you, how people can be allies to you. And you already answered that. I know we're close to time here, but I just want to give you another minute if there's anything else that
Yes.
you would say in terms of support and how we can support your community.
Yes. So as I just mentioned, go to gullahgeecheeland.com. You can make donations from there as well to our Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund. You can also find the Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund on GoFundMe, and you'll see a video of me talking about some of the land rights issues that we continue to fight and our legal fund for that. And we also have started community gardens and seed exchange projects with funds from that fund during COVID to help keep our farmers going and to keep our food and to eliminate food deserts as well. And we're about to start a tree planting project. So if you make donations, you can do it through GoFundMe or do $ Gullah Geechee Nation on Cash App. So Gullah is spelled Gulllah. Geechee is Geechee. Ain't no I in Geechee for the we, okay? So Gullah Geechee Nation. So Nation, Nation. So $ Gullah Geechee Nation for Cash App, or go to gullahgeecheeland.com and then you can click at the donate button right at the top. I really appreciate all the support. And of course, becoming members of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition helps us to be able to have more expertise brought in. So I know a lot of arborists and master naturalists and folks like that are here today. And we would love to meet you and to work with you, because we have some great projects that we're about to work on with some natural trails and healing centers here on the Sea Islands. So please reach out through gullahgeecheeland.com and follow us. We are on Twitter and Instagram at Gullah Geechee. We're on Facebook, Gullah Geechee Nation. So Gullah Geechee Nation's Facebook fan page, click, and there's also gullahgeecheenation.com, which is our blog. So we share a lot of our events and our activities. So please, if y'all would tweet that, share that, get others to join us, we can plant more seeds together and help the world have a new way of being, not just with the plants, but with the energy we are planting into each other's souls. And remember, we are just like the soil. So what are we planting in our own soil, in our own soils of our own soils and our own souls, so that the next generation harvests some positivity, some beauty, and what we call that fruit of the spirit. So I appreciate all of you for being here for this keynote address. Thank you, Paul. Quite naturally, since Paul's name is Moss, he and I have our own kind of symbiotic relationship since we met at the University of Minnesota. And then Laura, thank you so much. It's so wonderful having this opportunity to have this dialogue with you and everybody that's here. And we just so much appreciate all your support. And oh, by the way, if you go to gullahgeechee.biz, you can join the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition there. And you can also find my books and other things that tell you more about Gullah Geechee history, heritage, and culture, and some nice gear that you might want to wear outside as you're enjoying those plants and you're taking your journey throughout the day. So definitely continue to enjoy the conference. And I pray that afterwards, there's new growth and we all have a new way of being with plants.
Well, thank you so much. We are at time, but giving you such a big round of applause, and I'll give Paul the last word here.
Just to thank everyone, and we'll be going to our next sessions now, but just wonderful job. Thank you so much, Queen Quet. Really appreciate you taking the time today to give us such a wonderful talk. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. God bless on the children. Enjoy the summer.